Hey y'all, so how are you? I'm Dr. Raquel, and I wanted to come to you today because I was thinking about a scenario and I was like, this could be helpful for someone. But I have shared about it before, just like not creating little US conclaves wherever you're planning to move, like little communities of like you and other Americans that only hang out with each other. And so I was thinking, actually, just driving in the car, just thinking about this because it's so important that you actually like integrate to whatever country you're moving to. Of course, I've said this before, I will say it again in terms of language, like actually learning the language of the country that you're moving to. But one of the reasons why I think it's so important to learn the language of the country you're moving to is because it gives you access to the community that you're in a whole different way. And so, what made me think about this was I remember being in Germany, and we we were looking for a new apartment to move into, and we only found a place to live because of our German friends and family. Like we went to so many house visits, like apartment visits, and every one it was like learning something completely new, but also they were not picking us. And it wasn't until we like told them like, hey, we're trying to find an apartment, we can't find a place, and they were like, yeah, you're not German, like they're not going to give you an apartment if you're not German, they're going to pick a German person for the apartment, not you. And they were like, we have to help you find a place, we need to find a place where we know someone who has an apartment, and tell them who you are, and then they will tell us whether or not you can rent their place. But you have to have like a German connection or nobody's going to rent to you. And then within like a week or two, we had two options of places where we could move into. And so it also is just reminded me of the importance of community, because if you don't have a community where you're living, it is going to be much more difficult. Like you hear this a lot in the US where people talk about like their tribe, their village. And the reason why that's important in the US is because when you don't have it, life is tough. You have to do everything yourself. Something happens, you can't go pick up your kids. What are you going to do? Something happens and there's an emergency and you have responsibilities on the other side of town and the other side of town. Like, what are you going to do? You need to have a tribe, you need to have a village that can step in when necessary. And it's going to be the same way when you're abroad. You need to have a tribe, you need to have a village. And figuring out what you need to do in order to create that tribe and village is really super important. But one way that I have found to really be able to do that, and that's across like different languages, is to learn the language of the country you're living in. Specifically for me, like too with Belgium, I remember like I had to do work with people who only spoke Dutch or Flemish, and like they would be like, yeah, I speak English. They did not really, because half the things that I said, they did not know what I was saying, and I definitely didn't know what they were saying. And so I took all the Dutch classes possible, so that I could communicate better with them. And once we were able to like start kikiing in Dutch, it was like anything I needed, they would like go above and beyond to try to help me with. And it completely changed my experience in the country. And so like where now Dutch is my favorite language. Like I love Dutch. So I highly recommend like building the community now, joining the Facebook pages. There are going to be a lot of expats there, but expats are also important for your tribe. So when you're like, hey, my kid is really struggling with this language, and so I need to kind of ease them into this a little bit better. What schools have you found that do this well? Or I am needing some goobers and I need them like yesterday. That was usually my struggle. But I need them like yesterday. What can I do? Where can I go to find some goobers or to order some that will be here tomorrow? And so, expats are also going to be a part of your tribe, but you just want to make sure that they're not the only part of your tribe. So, my 2 cents for today. I hope y'all have an amazing day. Bye.